everyone, in this video we are going to do a couple extra examples from the IXL skill JJ1 Theoretical Probability. This will be the first skill from our probability unit, which we are beginning in class today. Just as a reminder, there will be more examples given through Google Meet today. So make sure you join our Google Meet at the beginning of class. Alright, so what is probability? The probability is the number of favorable outcomes out of the number of possible outcomes. Alright, so essentially, for each of these problems, we are going to be given a situation, and we kind of have to examine the situation and find the probability of the desired or the favorable outcome in this case. So here, you pick a card at random, and there's a card that says 2, a card that says 3, 4, and 5. We have to find the probability of picking a value that is prime. So the favorable outcome is always going to be that amount in between the parentheses next to the P, which stands for probability. So it always says to simplify your answer and write it as a fraction or whole number. Probability is always going to be between 0 and 1, so it'll either be written as a fraction or, like it says, as a whole number. All right, so here we need to figure out the probability of a prime card being picked at random. Just as a reminder, what prime means is that it's a number that can be divided only by itself and 1. So here we know 2 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number, and 5 is a prime number. But 4 is not because we can divide it by 2 also. So we are going to say our number of favorable outcomes out of the number of possible outcomes. So the probability of a prime number being selected is going to be equal to the number of favorable outcomes, which is 1, 2, 3. So 3 out of the number of possible outcomes. So that's like the total number of outcomes you could have, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to say that the probability of selecting a prime value or a prime number card at random is going to be 3/4. And here we can submit, and we see wonderful. So we are ready to move on to the next example. In this next example, you flip a coin. What is the probability of heads? So here we have to figure out the favorable outcomes over the total possible outcomes. So here, the probability of it landing on heads, we can say the probability of heads. Well, let's see. When you flip a coin, what are the options? It can either land on heads or tails. So there are going to be 2 total options. And we know that heads is going to be 1 out of 2 of those options. So the probability of landing on heads would be 1 out of 2, or 1/2. And we can submit. And you might also see an example with a die. So here you roll a 6-sided die, and you have to find, once again, the probability of a prime number being rolled. So here you roll a 6-sided die, and we have to figure out what the probability of a prime number is. But this time is a little different because we want to write our answer as a percentage. We're going to do the same process here to find the fraction, and then we're going to convert that fraction into a percentage. All right, so here we need to find the number of favorable outcomes over the number of total outcomes. So total outcomes here in a 6-sided die is going to be 6. So we're going to say the probability of a prime is going to be equal to something over 6, right? The number of prime numbers between 1 and 6. So 1 is not a prime number. 2 is going to be a prime number, so that'll be 1. 3 is another one, and 5 is another one. So we have 2, 3, and 5. So that gives us 3 out of 6, or 1/2. So to convert to a percentage here, we could either say we know 1/2 is going to be 50%, but just to show you what you could do if it's a little more difficult percentage or fraction to think about, we can divide 1 by 2, and we can say 2 doesn't go into 1, so we have to Add a decimal, add a 0 to the right of the decimal, and we say 2 goes into 10 5 times, right? So this will be 5/10 is your decimal value. And then to find that percentage, we're going to move that decimal value over twice. So we have 50%. All right, so we see this value of 50% and we submit and see fantastic again. All right, so this is going to be what we're working on when we're talking about theoretical probability. You're going to want to find the favorable outcomes over the total possible outcomes. And then if you want to find it in percentage form, make sure to convert that fraction into a percent. All right, so make sure you are reading the questions carefully. If you have any questions or want to do a specific example that you're working on together, please type in the chat on Google Meet or raise your hand in person and let me know. Have a great day.